Hello everybody and welcome to today's Chrissy B Show. Now, does your child have any health, learning or behavioural difficulties? If they do, then you'll really benefit from our show today because there will be lots of advice and tips for you. First up, I'll be speaking to the Sunflower Trust founder and director of operations, Mark Matthews, to tell us about how they help children with various difficulties, and to also talk about his own struggles as a child. Welcome back everyone, and today we are speaking all about child health, learning or behavioural difficulties. So if you are a parent that has a child that's going through any difficulties, this programme is definitely for you. So now we're going to speak to founder and director of operations from the Sunflower Trust, Mark Matthews, who's going to talk about what they do. Hello, Mark.
Hi.
Lovely having you on the show today.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, you have a lot to talk about, but we don't have very long, so we're going to get stuck in straight away. First of all, can you tell us what the Sunflower Trust does?
Well, the Sunflower Trust was set up about 20 years ago after my work was discovered by an educational psychologist, Elizabeth Thomas, who saw some children that I'd treated and then phoned me up and said, "What are you doing with these children? I've not seen the like of it before." I said, well, if you're interested, why don't we do a little bit of research? You can assess some children and I will treat them and you can reassess them a year later. Let's make it better. Let's have a group of children matched for IQ and age who are not treated, all of whom are children having special needs, all of whom are children who were getting special educational help. And let's make it better still. Let's do questionnaires for the parents and the schools. And the group that I treated, on average, their IQ went up by 12 to 15 points, which is equivalent from moving them bottom of class to middle to top. Their health improved by 60%, and actually 90% of them had things like asthma, eczema, stress-related kind of problems. And their self-confidence and self-esteem by 65%. And so I was treating also a canon from the church nearby at that time, who had depression and migraines, and I sorted him out. He said, look, we must do something for this. So that's how the trust was set up. And the trust is to help children with learning and behavioural problems, to help them by helping them to be more balanced, integrated and well, when they feel better, perform better, achieve more and get on better with others, using natural medicine, uninvasive, safe, respectful ways. And we also raise funds so we can sponsor children to have the treatment whose parents couldn't otherwise afford it. And also, we're gradually building up a lot of evidence. So, for example, a recent study based on 72 children, overall, their health performance and behaviour improved by 70%. But what was really interesting is that none of them had a balanced musculoskeletal system. And if you think about it, we experience our feelings through our bodies. We're 90% muscle and bone, and 70% of our nervous system is to operate that machinery. And the word emotion comes from the word motion. What moves you is your muscles. You experience your feelings through your body. And so, for example, if you just, for a moment, just tense up, screw up your face, look down, and think about bad things, and breathe, and just see how that feels.
Uncomfortable.
Okay, now put your shoulders back, breathe expansively, put on a smile, and how does that feel?
Relaxing.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So you can talk about mind and all sorts of things, but actually we experience our feelings through our bodies. And if our bodies are out of balance, it's quite hard to actually feel good. And if you don't feel good within yourself and you don't fit within your own skin, it's quite hard to deal with the rest of the world and other people in it. So, you see, everything relates to everything. Nothing happens on its own. And we live in a world now, we've got specialists that know more and more about less and less, and love to put labels on things. And labels are just descriptions. They're not reasons. Everybody will have the description that they have for their own combination of reasons. You know, all the main people who've made major breakthroughs in the world, under modern terms, would be probably diagnosed as having ADHD. Leonardo da Vinci, you know, he did thousands of different things. He only finished 14 pieces of the work he did. Einstein, Winston Churchill, who is it behind Virgin? And actually, I see these children as having gifts in disguise. But I'm afraid we've got in a very left brain, kind of automated world, mechanistic way of thinking. And actually, you know, emotional intelligence takes you a lot further in life. than just being clever. And nothing ever happens on its own. So, for example, you've got millions of nerve endings on your feet. And nearly all the children I see have problems with their feet. They may not be aware that they're there, but the muscles that operate their toes and the ankles and so on aren't working properly. And from moment to moment, the information you're getting from your feet is going up your legs, up your spine, to your brain. It's linked with your eyes and ears and every other muscle in your body to stop you falling over from moment to moment. Well, if your feet aren't right, think how much harder your brain has to work to compensate for that, to stop you falling over, and how much less information processing power you're going to have over with which to focus on other things. So that's what I've put together, learning from some of the top people in the world over a long period of time, is to how easily to put people in touch with their innate genius, because I believe everybody is perfect inside, and we're all here for a purpose. And my job is to help people to be more in touch with their own innate genius in ways that we can measure, so that they can fulfill their lives. And what we find is when people are balanced, integrated and well, they feel better, perform better, achieve more and get on better with others.
Now, would you say your background and your past and the things that you went through as a child has kind of helped you develop all of this that you have today? Because you did have some learning difficulties,
Absolutely. Didn't you? I was thrown out of school at 14, unable to read or write. I was quite an angry young teenager. Happily, I did know that my mum loved me. That's the most important thing. But I was treated as if I was stupid, even though I wasn't. And they didn't understand dyslexia and things in those days. And I was fortunate because I was misunderstood and quite angry and frustrated. I didn't like people that much. I really liked animals. And I had a little dog, and she was my constant companion. I got up early before school, took her for a walk, and I walked in the countryside. I was really interested in wildlife and animals. So my later degree was in ecology and wildlife management. Okay. But happily, there was an old lady up the road, Miss Stevens, who was retired, who also loved animals. And she looked after all the stray cats in the area. She looked after them and fed them and got them doctors and things like that. And she took me under her wing. And she taught me to read and write.
Oh, wow.
And
what made it different with her?
Well, the difference was she gave me a little bit of respect, she gave me time, and she made it fun. Okay. You see, all children learn through play. They're naturally curious. Now, my children, I kept them away from school till they were 6.
Really?
And they just played.
Yeah.
We read them stories. They did jigsaws. They learnt to do Monopoly and things like that. So they were learning maths. They soon were reading books non-stop. And they taught themselves. And because they're naturally curious. But if they just sat like that and programmed like computers, actually, it takes the joy, excitement out of it. But also all kids want to run about, skip, climb, play tag, and talk and be listened to and responded to. Doing this is not going to do it for you. And I'm afraid a lot of kids are missing out on the basics. You know, human beings haven't changed in thousands of years. We're the same as we've always been. We've got the same needs, the same desires, the same feelings, and the same kind of behaviours. And there's only certain ways we can live together successfully. And that means we have to accept that and find ways of working with it. And that's what we call civilization, which is based on communication, understanding, compassion, patience, trust, love, cooperation. If that fails, it all breaks down.
With the children that you help, and obviously what impact does that have on families? Because I can imagine a parent that's really worried about their child, that's tried everything, and this child isn't progressing, and they're having behavioural problems because of that, and then all of a sudden to be able to kind of, for them to start to learn and to be excited about things again. What's that like for families?
Well, it can have a massive change. Well, sometimes you get the case where the parents are staying together because they love the child, and the child is so difficult, and they couldn't manage either a child on their own. And I've then sorted the child out, and the parents are separated, but because they didn't need the child, didn't need them better. But, but the other thing is, the nice thing about growing older, and I've been doing this for years, I'm now seeing the children of children I've treated. And just this week, for example, I've seen a lady I hadn't seen for some years. She came in because she's been doing some yoga and things and hurt her neck or her back or something. But actually, she was one of my children with learning difficulties, and she is now a lawyer. And she specialises in company law. I saw another chap who I saw as a hyperactive attention deficit, this dyslexic kind of thing. He wasn't ever going to be an academic, but he did, went back to school, did a craft, learned brick building and things. He's now got his own building company. But he comes in from time to time because he plays rugby, and then he comes in and says, oh, can you straighten me out again? So that's been the joy. There's thousands of people whose lives we've changed, and the cost of doing that is probably less than £1,000. And if you think of the cost of education, it's thousands of pounds a term. But if kids are not balanced, integrated and well, incapable of focusing and concentrating, what chance do they have of making good use of that investment? So we're collecting a lot of data because it's actually a hell of a lot cheaper to keep people well, balanced and integrated than it is to give labels and then cut them, drug them or irradiate them, which is a left brain autistic way of approaching things that is all too common these days.
Mark, unfortunately we've run out of time, but it's been fascinating speaking to you. I think we need to talk more about this because it's just,
there's
I can see there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? But thank you so much for telling us about what you do. That's great. All right, guys, so for more information on the Sunflower Trust, please head over to our website, chrissybshow.tv, for all the information.